Kyle Plew, welcome to Small Towns Unscripted.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is Nicole Turner.
Hi.
My name's Russ McClellan. I'm excited to have this conversation. You're one of those people in my world that I've known of for a long time, but I don't really know you. So I'm excited to get to know you.
You can't live in Manson without knowing the golden boy, Rusty McClellan.
The golden boy. Boy, that golden boy must have a lot of definitions. I don't know if golden would be
Let's go. Let's put some names to it.
There's just
Let's
certain
lay that
names in Manson that always rise to the top. Yeah.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, yeah. That could go a lot of directions right there. So what I'm curious about is I read your bio. Thanks for sending that, and thank you for being here. I'm very humbled by this. So you grew up here.
Yeah. So when I was in second grade, we moved here. My dad was a pastor. It was his first big boy pastor job. It was the First Baptist Church back then on Wooden in Chelan.
Okay.
So we lived here. That was 1970 we moved here. We lived here for 5-6 years. That was I think we moved because I was a hellion. I mean, I was a bad kid.
Now, where did you move from? Let me kind of.
We were all over the place. I was born in New York, upstate New York. My dad was in seminary. We moved to Indiana, moved to Rochester, Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
And then he got a call from the Baptist organization that there was an opening here, so he came out and checked it out.
And you were about 7, 8 then?
Yep, 7.
Wow, you guys moved a lot.
We did.
Wow.
We did. That's why after 7th grade, we moved to Boise. So if you ask me where my hometown is, I always say Boise. When you ask my brother, he says Chelan.
I see.
Because that's the first time we lived any place for any length of time.
Gotcha.
But I just found myself, like I said back in, everyone like, oh yeah, you're my kid. I ran with a group. This is like, I say all the time, all the bad things I did, for the most part, I did before 7th grade. Like we'd smoke pot under the bridge, you know. This is 6th grade.
You're an early adopter.
Yeah. I was drinking and trying to get into the high school parties with my friends, and we broke into houses. The youth center, which is now Chelan Valley Hope, you know, they had a concession stand on there. We figured out how to get in there and steal stuff out of there. Joe St. Louis had a bus up by the football field.
Yeah.
We were hiking up and everything. We thought, there's a bus. We broke out every single window, throwing rocks at it.
Wow.
I mean, I was a bad kid. I think that's what precipitated Dad considering moving too, because we moved to Boise and he put us in Christian school, which doesn't always work. In my situation, it was a good experience. And so, but growing up, yeah, we were here way before everything else was, right? There was no condos, there was no Wabata Point, there was there wasn't one Campbell's Hotel, there was Joby's and Cannons, and you know, it's a much, much different place to grow up.
Yeah, you know, you think about not only different place, but such a different level of activities on a daily basis with no technology.
Right.
No cell phones.
We just ran, right? We just, man, probably a little before Memorial Day till school started back up, we were always at the lake. We were on our bikes. You never checked in. You know, you just showed up for dinner.
Yeah, there was a problem if you came home before dinner. Like,
Yeah, what are you doing
here?
And you didn't want to be home anyway. We only had 3 channels.
Yeah, right.
There wasn't much to watch on TV, so we just ran with your friends.
So when you were in Boise, you kind of grew up there then for a while. Did you stay put in Boise for a bit?
For a while. Boise is still home. Most all of my wife's relatives, my kin are down there.
Talk about a town that's changed.
What's that?
Talk about another city that's just blown up.
Yeah. I go back there and complain. I don't want to get into it. It's like Chelan, only so much bigger. But when I was a kid, there was just not nearly the people.
Right.
Boise I still love Boise. It's the big enough town to have whatever you want there, and small enough town to know lots of people. And you can fish and hunt. You can go to the ballet. Everything. I love Boise.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Boise.
It's a great place. We lived in Boise. We went to school in Nampa, at Nampa Christian, home of the Trojans. Perhaps you heard of us? No?
I've heard of the Trojans, but they're Manson.
No, we went to Christian school, and it was a super good experience. Not every Christian school is. It was for my brother and I, and we had to ride the bus. Rode the bus about an hour and a half every day in 7th and 8th grade because we picked up all the farm kids on the way to from Boise to Nampa.
Yeah.
And it was, I say all the time, if I go back and live a year over again, I'd go back to my junior year in high school. It was perfection.
Yeah.
I was dating who's now my wife.
Oh,
my
really?
parents were still together. We're a happy family. My brother was my best friend. I loved high school, and I loved Boise. Yeah. Then from Boise after high school, and I started dating my wife in high school after dating her sister. It worked out okay. We're still really
That's
good
a
friends.
good little meet cute.
Well, I'll make it one better. Then she married our teacher. So, yeah.
Really?
Figure that out. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. The day we graduated, our teacher, my basketball coach, asked her out.
Wow.
Yeah. Christian school. And then I went down to LA to go to college. And I graduated from Biola University, home of the Eagles. Perhaps you heard of us, Nicole. No?
Strike two.
Went right back home that summer, got married, and we moved back to LA. So we were in LA for, I was down there for 4 years, and we were there another 5-7 years.
Was there something about LA that drew you to that place of all places?
A job, not a very good one. Right out of high school, I taught at this ghetto Christian school in the ghetto. I don't know if we're allowed to say that anymore, but it was rough, and I loved it. But that's, and Darlene, thank God Darlene went to work for U.S. Suzuki in the motorcycle division in Brea, and because I wasn't making any money. But we loved LA, even though we were both small town kids.
Yeah, a lot different than it is now, probably.
Yeah. Still a ton of traffic, still crime, still drive-by shooting, still. But there's still the best weather anywhere, right?
That's
There's always
true.
something to do. We were in edge of LA, San Bernardino County, so we were an hour away from the snow, we were an hour away from the beach. We were, we loved LA. Moving Darlene from LA to deep downtown Manson, that was a rough transition.
Deep downtown Manson.
That was a rough transition.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
In the deep downtown Manson. I'm curious about growing up with a dad that was a minister, pastor?
Yeah.
Minister? Is that the same thing? What's the difference?
Yeah, same thing.
Same thing. A lot of times you'll see kids rebel. Preacher's kid. I ain't doing that. I'm over here doing all these things. Was there a place in time where you realized that faith became more important, or was it just indoctrinated into you?
No, it's two different things. That's for sure. I say all the time. I mean, we were raised really strict.
Like strict Baptist, hardcore.
Beyond that.
Beyond that.
We knew we were the only, growing up in Chelan, we knew we were the only right church, right?
I see.
We knew it wasn't a Methodist because you drive by there on Sunday night, they don't have a service. So obviously they're not committed, right?
Oh.
We were there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. God forbid a special speaker came in, we were there every night of the week. And that was okay. I'm very thankful. I mean, I learned a lot about the Bible, about the Orthodox Christian faith. I really did. But my grandpa was a pastor. Dad was a pastor, and they were just strict. And they were strict because they were scared to death of us acting out, right? But in their strictness, all it did was force us to act out. Because there was a point, I remember 5th, 6th grade, where I thought, there are so many rules, and I can't follow them. And I equated following the rules with God liking me. So follow the rules, God likes you. You do right, God likes you. You do bad, God doesn't like you. So I thought, I can't do this anymore. My brother and I always used to think, we don't know why the Bible was so thick. We just thought it should be a 3x5 card that just said no. Because it's like, hey, Dad, can we? No. Can we go over? No. Can we? No. Can we go to movies? No. Can we go to the dance? No. Can't do anything.
You're safe if you do nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
And so by the time Miss Pingree tried to save my soul in 3rd grade as a teacher. She was the best. But by the time I got loose of her class, by the time 5th or 6th grade, I was,
Shackles are off.
yeah,
Let's
I
go.
was just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that's a lot of people. They feel like they're going to lose no matter what because they can never be perfect. And so they just quit.
Yep, exactly right. And the fact is, when Jesus shows up on the scene, he takes all the rules from the Old Testament, right? And the Jewish people had taken the 10 Commandments and they expanded them to like 680 new commandments. Yeah, right? There's just so many rules. And then Jesus shows up and he says, hey, you've heard that it's wrong to kill, to murder. I'm saying it's wrong for even to think bad about somebody. And everyone like, hey, we're doomed. And then Jesus says, yeah, don't worry. I showed up for all the doomed people. He wasn't showing up. He didn't show up to condemn people because we were already condemned. We were already messed up. And so there was none of that. We talk about grace and everything. It's just a word we threw around. But grace, to be loved and accepted without any conditions and strings attached, I didn't understand that at all. Until my freshman year at Nampa Christian, this lady shows up to be the music teacher. And her first name was Sunday. And she's one of 3 women in my life and growing up who influenced me. The reason I do what I do is because of those 3 people.
Oh.
And Sunday was one of them. And she led the choir and the ensemble. The ensemble was called First Love Generation. Perhaps you heard of us. We traveled throughout southern Idaho, parts of, no?
Strike 3.
And so she starts talking about this relationship with God and Jesus. I'm like, I don't. And I got fired up at age 14. Completely rearranged my life at 14, yeah. The problem was, I got fired up. Like, it kind of sounds so wimpy, but I couldn't wait to get to bed at night, grab my Bible, and read it. Mm. I'd hit my waterbed. It was 1977. I'd hit my waterbed with my Bible. I was just so excited. And I got so excited about a real relationship with Jesus, not following the rules, not, that I responded to God because of his love for me, not because I wanted to follow the rules so I didn't get kicked out.
Yeah, like fear-based,
Yep.
Fear-based faith.
Yep.
Versus a relationship. Mm-hmm. Is that one way to look at it?
Yeah, and again, my grandparents and parents meant well. I don't think that my dad will apologize all the time. Dad's going to listen to this and he's going to call me immediately afterwards and apologize. He has to sit through so many sermons and he has to. I don't blame him. He was doing the best he could. Yeah. But the problem that happened was by the time I hit college, Christian college, I was turning into the people I didn't want to be. And I was all fired up about Jesus, and if you weren't as fired up about me, there's something wrong with you, right?
Oh.
If you didn't see the Jesus in the Bible the way I did, and so I became this better than you, hypocritical, look at how great of Jesus follower I am. Mm-hmm. And I look back at that and it just kind of cringe at myself. And then I led ministry that way too, youth pastor that way too, Yeah, I really regret that I got away from that. It took a while for me to just settle back into a real relationship for myself, but what I expected in other people too, so.
Yeah.
And
that would be difficult.
how long did you say you lived in LA?
So I graduated in 85, and then in 92, we moved up here. We moved back here.
Graduated from what in 85?
Graduated from Biola University in 85, and then I went back to Talbot School of Theology on the same campus with Biola and graduated with a master's degree. And then we kind of started looking around. Our oldest daughter was 2. LA wasn't really the place we wanted to raise our kids. We started figuring out. So North Shore Bible Church in Manson was about, I forget how many years, they had been going about 10 years or so, and they needed a
Craig
youth
there
pastor.
at that time?
What's that?
Was Craig there at that time?
Yeah. Craig's been the only pastor there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so they were way forward thinking, decided they'd hire a youth pastor. Mm. And that's what I was doing in LA at a really large church, huge, pretty rich country club type church. It was right next to Friendly Hills Country Club. And this was a complete change because they'd never had a youth pastor. There was no youth pastors in town really. There had been the pastor at the Methodist Church in Manson kind of ran some stuff, but there was So we were the only game in town.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I remember the Methodist church every Sunday for a long time.
Yeah. We were, I say this all the time, and it's not, I'm not overselling it at all. Being the youth pastor at North Shore Bible Church was the best job ever. Not for me, for anybody. When I showed up, there was nothing. So we started from the beginning, and had all these people waiting for me to help. Brett and Sherry Lamar, Mike Wold, Dave and Trista Walters. I mean, they stayed with me forever. And then both school districts at that time said, whatever you need. Whatever you need. Here's the key. You know, I could go on campus whenever. We could use the gyms. I mean, it was, there was no competition because no other churches had youth pastors.
Wow.
And we would just do our things. We took kids on missions trips, and our winter camps were huge. And then we expanded into middle school only, and then high school only groups. And it just, we'd have events with a couple hundred kids that would show up, and it was. I thought I would do it forever. I'd be like that old guy youth pastor with some young assistants, kind of like you and Nicole.
Yeah, right.
And I would just do it forever.
She's an old soul.
And then I remember the day, I'm ashamed to admit, I had a bunch of middle schoolers, and at the end of it must have been May, so they would come Sunday mornings for Sunday school, and I would teach them and meet with them. And at the end of before summer started, I took them all to Campbell's for breakfast, okay? Sunday morning, my wife and I take them. And I say a prayer over the meal, and I say amen, and I look, and my phone's gone. One of the little rugrats had taken it. Not to steal it, just to mess around with me. And my immediate thought was, oh, I hate these kids. I thought, that's a good sign you should probably get out of youth ministry. Because before, I would wrestle with them and everything. Yeah. I thought, man, so I thought, okay, there must be something different. And after 16 years of youth pastoring,
wow. We
started at North Shore 5 years. Well, I've been doing it since I was 20. So, over 20 years of youth pastoring. I felt a calling, or God redirected me, and Craig and I sat down and thought, what should we do? How's this look? And we started. We formed a different position at North Shore called, what do we call that? Life pastor, life pastor, shoot. And I ran Celebrate Recovery, Christian 12-step program, and outreach stuff and guest services and all that stuff. And that's where my life began to change, really, really for the better. Getting involved with the 12 Steps program, didn't know anything about it. When I started, I thought, yeah, there's a bunch of people who need help. I'll come in and help them. And about 6 months into it, I said, oh, crap, it's me that needs help too. And life just kind of slowly started turning around in lots of ways. And kind of I don't know if angry prophet would be the right word, or legalistic, better than you, always get my own way, always win every argument kind of guy. All that stuff to fall off a little bit. And soon after that, hitting marriage counseling with Darlene, just radically changed our marriage and our direction and the way I parent, especially older. My girls now, now they're out of high school and in college, and I was learning to parent them better. And it just changed. And in the process of leading Celebrate Recovery, which was every Thursday night, dinner, large group, small groups after, I just thought, this is a pretty cool way to do church. So, and this is where things got dicey, is I went to Craig and the board at North Shore, and I said, I think God's calling us to start a new church and calling us to start it in Chelan. And I never spoke that way before. Like, I'm not a heard God guy. That in my life, it's been maybe 2 or 3 times. And Craig obviously was like, man, listen, we got to talk about this. That's, and I understand that. So I said, I get it. If you and the board don't give your blessing, I'm not going to do it, because I think God speaks through the board anyway. And it took us about over a year of talking and planning, and they gave their blessing, Craig gave their blessing, and we started real life at the high school.
Wow.
Not knowing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any money. We didn't have a plan. We didn't have a sending agency. I didn't know what I was doing. I had my wife and 2 other couples, and we just started.
Is Real Life, because I've seen Real Life in other towns, is that like an organization that you belong to?
That's the real life. We're the fake real life.
I like it.
The big real life is in Post Falls. That was the original one in Idaho. Okay. And then they got now 8 campuses.
Okay.
Wow.
It's a huge thing. And come to find out, the kid who started it, Pastor Putman, I went to school with at Nampa Christian, home of the Trojans. He was 4 years behind me in school, and it's a huge. So when we were talking about a new church in Chelan, we sat down there was 8 of us that sat down, and we had read an article that said, and it's probably true for any business, in your title of your business, if you can say what you are and where you are, that will help. So we came up with Real Life Lake Chelan, that kind of said where we're located and what we're all about. That we take this super seriously. We say it all the time. That we started Real Life because we want to help people who are far from God or who feel far from God find real life in Christ. And we take that super seriously. So we have a bunch of other tags we use, that we want to be a church for people who don't like church. In order to reach people no one else is reaching, we want to do things no one else is doing. That we sat down, we said, we figured there was a few thousand people every Sunday in Chelan, Manson who weren't going to church anywhere. And why not? And was what we're doing getting in the way of that? Had they had a bad experience? Did they not understand? Did they not? What was keeping? So we just set out to reach all those people. We didn't want people from other churches necessarily coming. That wasn't our target audience. But Sunday morning we plan, prepare, preach to people who are not yet followers of Jesus or seeking to be followers of Jesus, and so far that works okay. That works out okay.
Do you know about how many people are in that every Sunday group?
Here's what we say. When you start asking pastors statistics, it's the one sin we can commit, because we'll just lie to you. So here's our plan. Here's our plan.
It's plus or minus 20.
We want
200.
Every Sunday we want 1/3 of the people sitting there to be convinced followers of Jesus. All right. We want 1/3 to be newly seeking followers of Jesus, and 1/3 to be like, I'm only here because someone promised me brunch. Right. We want people that I don't like church.
Good cookies.
And so when people say, like, I love this, because you invite someone to Real Life and they'll say, I don't like organized religion. And I'm like, perfect. We are so unorganized. Come on and check us out. Or,
that's the
I don't like
greatest tagline.
Church. I don't like church. Perfect. Because Real Life on Sunday mornings is church for people who don't like church. And what happened was the most shocking thing is I had all these people, older people, senior citizen people. I will shout out the joiners, Karen and Herschel, who have known me since I was
we had them on the podcast.
7 years old.
Yeah.
They and people of their place in life are the backbone of Real Life. I'm telling you, if we were to plan a service on Sunday morning, the way we do church, Herschel and Karen would never plan it that way. There's a lot of people in that category, but they believe in the mission, and they believe making a space for people who have had a bad experience with church or never have enjoyed church. They believe in that mission, so they serve, they volunteer. Herschel and Karen are there every single Sunday.
Great people.
They're always serving and doing something. That group gives so that we can do what we do. I never anticipated that on a Sunday morning, just last week, they have all these senior citizens back. They always sit in the same seats, and I got all the middle schools and high schools that sit right down front, and then everybody in between. And really, our target audience, we plan for people far from God, but probably young married with kids, and then we have a bulk of those people in that mix, and it just works so far.
And you're happy?
I'm ecstatic. I work with, it's not unlike when we started youth ministry and I had these youth staff volunteers waiting for me. I work with the best team in the world in two folds. There's 9 of us on staff, part-time or full-time, and then there's 9 elders, church board, and those two groups of people are the best people. I don't fight with my board, I don't fight with the staff. We all don't see the world the same way. We probably all voted differently. We're not the same, but we are all on the same mission together. And I don't take that for granted after 13 years. But it has been, there's been bumps, and there's people in pain, and there's loss, and there's misunderstandings. But I've never been in a place where I'm at odds with staff or board.
What are some of the challenges that you have found that are maybe surprising challenges?
I'll tell you, the biggest one is it's a lot more fun to start a church than maintain a church.
No. Oh,
right?
Well, there you go.
I was so excited, so much fun, and then oh man, there was times where in year 3, 4, 5, where we would pay our bills and then have nothing left over. And the board would look at me like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I'm the pastor, right? I'm not the finance person. I don't know nothing about finances. I'm like, well, Jesus said he's going to give us our daily bread. Not necessarily monthly or yearly. So if we paid everybody, yeah. Are we all caught up for this month? Yeah. Well, then let's just see what happens next month. And I was living like that on faith. And 60% of me believed it. But 40% of me would drive home from those meetings and I don't know if we're going under or not.
Well, you can relate to a lot of families, especially now.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. So we've never, in fact, I don't want to offend anybody, but if we had hundreds of thousands of dollars in our savings account, I would be ashamed of that. Because one of our 3 big pillars that we stand on as a church is we want to find needs in the community, kick open the doors and meet the needs, not wait for the needs to come to us. So we take that super seriously. We support Chelan Valley Hope and Thrive, and we do that. We just, if we had a bunch of money sitting in savings, just sitting there, we would figure out a way to invest it in people's needs. So
Yeah.
It's one of the things that our mutual friend Rod Brooks saw me this morning, and he's asking various people what the definition of community is. And that of course is like an open-ended question, right? It's very interesting. And he mentioned that he talked to you, so I was curious about what your definition of community is.
Well, super difficult nowadays.
Yeah.
But community has to be moving in the same direction towards a shared goal, even though you're radically different personality, political makeup, family background. There's got to be a way that we can work together towards something we all agree on, even though we completely disagree. I don't see that. I see the world differently than I used to see it. But like our staff of 9, we all see the world differently. If we sat down and had political discussions, they wouldn't be argument, but people are passionate.
Yeah.
But we would never treat each other poorly. And we would never let that get in the way of, So whether it's Real Life Church or Lake Chelan Community Center or Manson Chelan School District, you would want to say, what's our mission? And let's set aside our personal stuff so we can get to the main mission. I mean, me too. It can't always, that's what I hate about me when I was younger is I just always had to have things go my way, which is bad for a marriage, bad for a dad, not even good for a coach, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, the counseling helped with was, I thought I needed to control all outcomes. That for lots of stuff from my childhood and stuff, that I thought if I'm in control, everything will be all right. And you just can't be in control of everything.
Yeah, we were working to get, we train on Thursdays at our office, and we talk a lot about a person's set mind or mindset. One of the things I was telling everybody today, 'cause, we're working on trying to be as vulnerable as we can be to understand the story that we're telling ourselves that serve us in life and in business, and don't serve us in life and in business. And we all have that instinctual mind that is there to protect us, and that unfortunately keeps us in that quote unquote comfort zone, which is often where we're trying to get away from to achieve joy, happiness, fulfillment, success, quote unquote success, whatever that is. And I'm telling you, one of the things I'm constantly working on, which is the kind of what you're saying, is like knowing when to say it's okay, that I went far enough, even in my head, like I want to. And I used some examples. I was hunting in the mountains last week. I'm 13 miles deep, backpacking in. I'm on a cliff alone, 6 degrees with wind chill, a foot of snow. It had frozen a couple times, and I was looking out over this trail that wasn't there. There was a trail there, but it was buried in snow and ice, and it's steep. And I'm like, I really wanted to get to the other side of that canyon, where I knew I was hunting mule deer. I was like, okay, well, I think that this is enough. So one of the things I'm trying to be content with is like, it's okay to be, you gave it a lot and you had a goal there, but you're okay right here.
I relate to that. My mantra is just shut up. Just stop talking.
No, that's what she tells me all the
time. I live my whole life since I was a kid, and I'm not really sure where it came from, that you have to win everything, right? The spelling bee at class, AU basketball, and that moved into academics, and then coaching, Manson girls, and then coaching. I coached with Frank boys for a long time, and just like winning was everything. Still, I mean, I follow Boise State's sports, and I like when they lose, it can overwhelm me and be, and I'm like, everything's just about winning. And I ran into this quote about 10 years ago that said, why would you win an argument with people you love? Because the process of winning that argument, you're making them a loser. And I love my wife more than anything. My 2 girls, and they love a good argument. I love them. So I just started telling myself, just shut up. Yeah. The same way with dealing with people who are complaining, maybe at church or staff that's not, just shut up and listen, because I just always had to win. And I'm telling you, when I find myself, and it only takes now, after 10 years, like I'll get ready to kind of move back on my wife or, say, and I'll just like, okay, all right. And I just kind of walk away, and it only takes me about 30 seconds. But that 30 seconds is like, I just want to, yell back or say something back or be a smart aleck or, But for me.
Yeah, well, the competition in people is a good thing until it becomes a bad thing. And, I had another example that it's all about the same thing, let go and be content instead of like being right, or making your point or, letting your ego drive the bus instead of maybe your brain logic. So I had this situation where I had a seller that we did a deal with, and seller, I didn't perceive them to be as grateful as I thought they should be. And then there were some things that were said that were like kind of hurtful, and we pulled off a great deal for him, and I was like, I wrote this email, and I sent it to her, and I sent it to my sister, I sent it to myself 3 times, and then I'm like, every day, I'm like, and there was everything in my body, and Nicole looks at me, and my wife gave me some good lessons too, but she looks at me, she goes, are you sending this for your ego or for the good of the company or the good of the team, or are you just trying to be right? You're just trying to make an egotistical point. They're not even here anymore. You're going to make them feel bad. Like, what are you doing? And so it took about a week. And I don't know why this particular, I've come a long ways in my life too, from where I once was, but it's still there. I mean, there's still that voice in me that's like, I want to be right. I want to be this or I want to be that. I want to go all in. So it's fun for me to be around people that can also help me when I'm in that position.
I'm not going to get all Dr. Phil on you, but that thing wherever is how you survived, right? Like, I always was looking, I always thought everyone was against me, right? I was that kid that when you play a football, basketball game in high school, like one of my buddies knew all the kids on the other team. I'm like, how can you talk to them? Because they're the enemy, right? I couldn't be friends with. It was just like, you know,
so much
everything.
rivalry.
The rivalries,
Yeah, it's because everything was about winning. I'll still drive to Wenatchee, and if there's a car in front of me, I'm thinking, well, I should be in front of that car. You know?
Oh my God. It is extreme. It does go.
Yeah.
Why is everybody driving slow? They're not. You're driving 80.
Yeah. I just, once I get in front, I think, okay, everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's a horrible. You take that in relationships, and my daughters would love to tell you, and my wife would do it more kindly. That doesn't make for good relationships. When I always have to be the winner and always have to have the last word. That's how I was raised. That's how we.
Yeah, mine's always, it's always up to me. That's how I always have functioned my life, is like, I got to fix everything. It's my responsibility. It's on me. I got to do it. And if I don't do it, nobody will. That's how I live life.
Yeah, you take on a lot of responsibility for other people.
100%.
But what happens when you run into something you're like, oh crap, I can't do it?
I still try. I haven't yet quit. I should. I talk about it all the time, but I still struggle with it to this day. Yeah. Yeah,
it is funny how we often want the outcome to be what we want it to be, and we believe it's the best for everybody, but it is frustrating when you can't find the right words in the right order, the right actions to deliver the. You know, I imagine as a pastor of a church, you probably look around and go, if you would just come here, I can help you understand. And I know. Listen, the way we do church is different than the way lots of different churches do church. But I don't think we're the only right way to do church, right? That's what I feel God called us to do in this moment, in this time with real life. But we're not anti. In fact, we work really well with all the other churches in town. But there is a sense that if you don't know, you guys probably understand this, but it took me to start real life until I understood this. You got to know who you are and why you do what you do, because everyone else is going to come in and try to tell you how to do it and question it. And once that real life exists to help people who are far from God find real life in Christ, that's what we do. This is what we do on Sunday morning, and this is how we do it. The band, we have a live band. They're the best small church band in the entire country, because I have a different leader every week. They have to learn 2 new songs every week, because one is usually a secular song. Then there's 2 churchy songs, and there's another secular, but not a normal sing-along song. So every single week, there's a when you walk in, the music you hear walking in, you guys would recognize it, because it's going to be normal music, not going to be church music. We want people to feel comfortable as soon as they walk in, if they've never been to church before. So when we get pushback from that, it's not a problem, because there's no battle, because it's just like, yeah, this is who we are. And they're like, yeah, well, you should do this. We're like, yeah, we don't do that. Right.
So they can go, like, it's like going to McDonald's and ordering a pizza, and like, well, we don't have pizza. Well, what are you going to do? Well, you probably need to go somewhere that has pizza. So once we were confident in who we were and why we do what we do, it makes confrontations really easy. Because it's okay if you don't. Some of my best friends don't like the way we do church and don't come to my church. My best friend doesn't come to my church. And it's okay. But that's, so there's no argument or anything. And you should have that enough. We don't do it that way. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to be, with the self-confidence and the understanding of your mission. And you want people to be happy. So whatever it is that makes them happy, they should do that. And if they want to, open their own church, they should do that too. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do if you want to, as long as you're comfortable with who you are and why you're doing it. And we do that in real estate too. There's a million ways to sell real estate, but we have after 36 years of doing it in this town, I've kind of developed a lot of wisdom through scar tissue more than anything else. But we have a certain way, and I spend a ton of time on philosophical mindset and emotion, and helping people overcome the negative stories and the negative self-talk that we all end up with for whatever reason.
I can never do what you guys do. I could not handle the rejection. I can't handle I'm trying to sell you something and you're not buying it. In church, in real life, I'm just offering people what Jesus already offered. And so I don't really feel rejected when people don't like our church or are like, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet. And you can still participate. Yeah, we'll still be friends. Come, if you don't believe the way we believe, that's okay. Keep coming. Mm-hmm. Jesus said all the time. The New Testament, like the disciples hung out with Jesus, and then 2 years into it, it says, and then Peter believed. I'm like, well, what was he doing for the 2 years beforehand?
Brunch.
He was just hanging out.
He was
just
brunch.
Yeah. So we say that to people all the time.
That's
You're
great.
like, hey, I don't believe all this. Okay, just follow. Just come along and see what happens.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's true in a lot of things in life, right? Sometimes you just got to go through the process a while until it resonates, and it resonates for different people and everything in different ways. And I imagine Jesus and church is right up there with everything. I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm curious. I really appreciate you talking about this, and it's interesting to get the perspective. I want to get into the community center and the whole process of that, because I was blown away when I was invited by Scott Hutchinson, my wife and I, to go to the gala. And I was frankly embarrassed that I didn't know more. And it reinforces what I believe. One of the reasons we talked about off camera about this podcast is I believe that we often find ourselves thinking that, we don't have a lot in common, or that everybody knows this. I hear that a lot. Well, everybody doesn't like me, or everybody doesn't thinks this about you. And I'm like, I had this philosophy that I said, actually, that's 7 people talking to 7 people talking to 7 people. Mm-hmm. So everybody in that industry knows, maybe, or in your family, your sphere of influence knows, and you think that's everybody. Now, when you go put it on Facebook that my husband did that, okay, well, now more people know. Like it wasn't everybody though. It was.
I still run into people. We've been doing Real Life for 13 years, and they'll say, "What do you do?" And I say, "I work for Real Life Church," and they're like, "What's Real Life Church?"
Yeah.
And they live in Chelan and Manson, and we think, well, everyone should know. No, they don't.
No.
Why would they? Everyone doesn't know.
Well, and it was funny because when I was there, I kind of knew of it, which is the premise of this podcast, right? We try to help people get to know each other instead of each other, only of each other. And so I knew of it, but Brooke and I were close, K through 12 together, and Scott Hutchinson and I just worked together, saw a bunch of condos and Wapato Point, and then I'm like, okay, well, I had no idea of the story and the challenges and the vision and how big the vision is, and then I'm still. One of the reasons I really appreciate you being here is I really am trying to get an understanding, just for my own edification, like what happened? Like, how did this all begin?
Yeah. I'll give you the quick story because it's pretty long. And this is the truth, all right? I mean, I haven't lied to you yet. When I do, I'll tell you. Is about 5 years into Real Life, I had a group of guys over to my house, sat around the dining table, and we said, maybe we should think about building a church. We were meeting in the Performing Arts Center at the high school. Works really good. We pay rent, follow the laws, and we decided maybe we should start talking about that. So we had a couple of meetings, and really it's Ben Williams that gets the credit. Ben says, why are we talking about building a building for ourselves when the reason we started Real Life Church was to meet the needs of the community, not please ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, there's no gym space in town. There's not enough gym space for AAU, for all the teams, for everything. There's no really inexpensive gathering places.
Right.
And so I thought, well, let's keep talking about that. During that time, I read this article about this church in Montana, I think it's Missoula, and they built a water park. The church did.
Wow.
They raised some money and paid for it, and it's open to the community.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought, why would you do that? And they're like, we just want to provide, we saw a need, a lack, and we built it. And I thought, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know churches could do that. I was out visiting my mom in Iowa and went by the West Des Moines Community Center. I'm like, that's a nice building. The church next to it built it. So I went in and met with the guy, the director, and he said, yeah, got this gym over here, and we got this indoor play area, and we have a coffee shop, and I'm telling you, all the activity happens right here in the coffee shop, indoor play area. Moms and dads come in, their kids play, and they, I thought, I didn't know a church could do that. So came back from that, we started talking, we decided we're going to build a community center, that Real Life Church is going to build a community center. So we launched our campaign, and we raised, someone had given us some cash, so we bought 7 acres out by, what do you call it now?
The sheds out there, Anderson Road.
Chelan Fruit.
Warehouses.
So we had 7 acres, and we're on our way, and then we raised a couple $100,000. I thought, here we go, and thought we could build a whatever. I didn't know what I was doing. And thank God I had people on the construction team that knew what they were doing. So we hired a fundraiser out of Oregon, and they came in. The first thing they did was get us all together, all the staff, all the elders, all the building committee, and their conclusion was, you'll never do this. You can't do this on your own. It's too big. Your church isn't big enough. There's not enough. And their advice was, form a different foundation, get people who don't go to your church, who are part of the community, who don't go to your church, and do it that way. So we formed the 7 Acres Foundation based on the 7 acres we had bought out by Chelan Fruit, and took off. Whatever assets we had, we gave to the foundation. During that time, there was this discussion between Chelan Valley Trust, low-income housing people, the Lookout, and us. And so we gave Chelan Valley Trust our property out by the sheds. Lookout gave us the property right below them. Then Chelan Valley Trust we gave them 2 more acres because we had bought 9 total out there. So they got property. We got better location property, and the Lookout got the goodwill of doing it, And I think it was a win-win-win for everybody. So then we just started raising money, and there was, all along the way, there'd be this is never going to happen, like in the beginning. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone gives us $250,000 from a foundation we'd never heard of. Like, where'd that come from? And then we moved along and through this fundraiser process, and then, no secret, Scott and Brooke Isaac gave $1 million. And I'm like, well, we're on our way, Well, pretty soon we found out we needed more than that. And the Names Foundation, long story there, they were really interested in our project and everything, and they gave us $6 million. And then I thought, we're done. We got all the money. This is good. And then COVID hit and just killed us. Prices went up. I'm not telling you guys anything.
They radically went up.
Yeah, the timeline slowed way down.
I remember when an OSB sheet of OSB went from you don't quote me perfectly, but $13, $14 a sheet to $75 a sheet overnight.
Yeah.
Brett Lamar is one of my best friends.
Oh, there you go.
Lake Chelan Building Supply, and he was saying, Plew, it is crazy out there.
Nothing I can do about it either. Yeah.
So anyway, we kept building, and we'd stop because we didn't have any money, and then some money would come in. And so by, I don't know when it was, 16 months ago or whatever, we finished phase 1. Along the way, Adam Ring came along and said, hey, our family foundation would love to pay to put in a pool. You guys want to include that? And we said, yes, please. And so then that took off. Adam joined our board, Scott Hutchinson joined the board. We had all the different people, And so we finished phase 1. It's in 3 phases. Phase 1 was barely finished. And we had construction loan, and we borrowed this money, and trying to this money. And so, to be honest with you, if we had sat down 2 years ago and you would have asked me about the community center, I would have went like, we're done, we're stuck. We're So
did you find yourself when you borrowed money? That was a big step, I would imagine, because that debt servicing all of a sudden is just like anybody else, I would imagine. They're not like, it's okay, Kyle, you can wait a year or 2 to pay us. I mean, there was probably some bank loans.
Oh, yeah. And it was, it was chewing us up. I mean, we got into the building, and if you've been in there, it's a gorgeous building, right? The indoor children's play area is fantastic. our offices, real life offices, of which we pay rent to be there. It's not free. We love. All of us are in one place compared to where we were downtown. The gym up there, the Boys and Girls Club, is fantastic.
I hear everybody rave about that.
It is fantastic. All of our office space we got all our tenants filled up, and majority are nonprofits. The coffee shop, Holly runs a great coffee. I mean, everything's fine, but we were stuck. We had debt. We couldn't. People are like, "Hey, where's the pool?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree. Where's the pool? We can't even finish the gym. All it is a shell." And we were stuck. But again, like when the 250 came in the beginning, and then the 6 million came in, the 1 million came in from the Isaacs, 6 million comes in from Names Foundation. I had all but given up, and I'm a person of faith. I think God's kind of moved this along, and I had just, our youth pastor, Graham Monteleone, anytime people would say, "Hey, what's going on with the community center?" Graham would say, "Don't ask Kyle," because I was just so discouraged because we were just stuck. And we had 2 more phases, and we were stuck. And those people on Facebook that don't understand all the details were like, "Hey, it's a sham. You ripped us off. We gave you money." And I get their feelings. I really do. Well, then, out of the blue, a couple months ago, the Turner family donated $4 million, $2 million now, another $2 million over the next few months or so, and then another $2 million in matching funds.
Wow.
So that we could, by the end of the year, be sitting on $8 million. We have the $4 million that's guaranteed. That will finish the gym. We're almost for sure that will cover that. Then we have this other $2 million matching, of which we've gotten $650 in to match, so that puts us at 1.3. But that's to the end of the year. So that'll service and move some debt around and gives us really a lot of freedom. It's I don't want to overuse the word, but it's a miracle. I mean, it was the Turner family. I mean, we weren't wooing them. We weren't whining and dining them. They weren't on our radar. Yeah. They just called up Brooke and said, "Hey, can you give us a tour?" Brooke gave them a tour, and they called Brooke and said, "Here's what we want to do."
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what you call them. Is it RFPs that go out to contractors? RFD, PFR? I don't know what they call them. Anyway, the bids are out, and we're going to have a contractor. We hope by the end of this month they'll get to work. I mean, we could be. Now I'm way over and over my skis, but I think we could be in there really next year, the gym finish, and that will change everything. What happens for the community to have that gym finished, and what the Boys and Girls Club get out of it, it'll be fantastic. And then the pool is next.
Yeah, that Boys and Girls Club, when Brooke was speaking, and I thought she did a fabulous job, which she always does, but at the gala event, explaining all the things you've been through and being transparent. But that Boys and Girls Club, I think I heard, maybe tell me if I misheard it, but I thought he said there's something like 500 kids, some crazy amount of kids.
They had, I don't know all the details, but we're a different Boys and Girls Club, because Boys and Girls Club usually aren't tenants in the building. Usually they run the building. And we made an agreement with them, and I think it's going to be beneficial for all of us. But they came in and took over the city of Chelan's AAU basketball program last year, and soccer, I think, too. And the numbers went from here to here.
In a town of, say, 6,000-7,000 people, if you include both towns, to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids involved in an organization.
Yeah,
it speaks a lot to the director, who evidently was another godsend, to use a word, that happened to retire here, sounded like.
Yeah.
And then he fired back up and had all the wisdom and experience of the Boys and Girls Club.
And Boys and Girls Club, we're not that familiar around here with them, but they're everywhere, especially big cities. And for him to have the Gebbers were instrumental in starting the Boys and Girls Club in Brewster, and that's been up there a long, long time. It gets good use up there. But have a full running Boys and Girls Club program like we have here, and then add the gym to it, it'll be that just more outstanding.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And how does it feel to you when you're in such a passionate plan that you've been involved in from the beginning, when you hear these armchair quarterbacks and this judgment coming that's uneducated, or maybe they're right, how does it make you feel?
Well, I've grown up in Manson, lived here 32 years, right? So I know a lot of the players and voices. 15 years ago, it would have made me mad. Now I get it. You know what it makes me feel is I wish they could sit here at this table and we have a discussion.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and if they knew, and maybe they do know me and don't like me, and that's okay. There's a handful of people. Not everyone loves me. Trust me. Maybe there's people on the board they don't trust. I don't know where that comes from, but we're telling the truth. You know, we're not shamming anybody. I think we've been very transparent. That's who I am to a fault. Is this is what we tried, this is where it happened, this is what it is. So when we stumble onto stuff, like it's just, the community center is just a church. Like you walk through there and you know that's not true. You know?
Yeah.
We pay market rate rent to be there. It was our idea way back there, but it moved way past a church. When the gym's done, we're going to have Sunday services there, of which we'll pay rent in the gym on Sunday morning, right? Just like everyone else pays rent that uses it and is a tenant. But when I still get that blowback a little bit, I'm like, it doesn't make me mad. I'm just like, I wish you would sit down and talk with me. And let me tell you the story of how how we got here. Or
that's a story.
Or there's a couple guys, and I get their feelings, right? It's just a sham. They took your money on the pool, and it was a lie. They said the pool was going to go in first, and that's not true. But I understand if you think it is, that it looks like a huge sham. If you gave your money and you thought a pool was coming next year, yeah, that make me mad too. But in reality, it's always been part of the plan. And we've probably made some mistakes. We haven't got it right all the time. COVID was a monster.
Well, anything with construction too is always twice as long or 3 times as long and twice as expensive.
I didn't know that, Nicole. I didn't know that. I've learned a lot. That's because that's not my world at all.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the board, most of them just pat my head and say, "Oh, Kyle, you don't understand." No, I don't understand. That's why I get so upset when I thought you said it was going to be this much money. I thought you said it was going to be this much time, and they're like, some things we don't have control of.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's that risk return in general, you know, and when you have the courage to take on a project that has a lot of potential unknowns, and anything that takes time, there's unknowns, like COVID. Boom. That's not something we predicted. You deserve the opportunity to embrace the fruits of your labor, so to speak. And because it was sweat, blood, tears, stress, anxiety, and the intent. People can often judge anybody about the outcome, you know, but if we had a guarantee, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be nice that we'd have no curveballs in life. That'd be nice that I have no tragedy
but
or
you
no
wouldn't
disease or no
know
illness. Yeah.
because you need to have the opposite happen for you to know when the good stuff happens.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And I believe it's hard for people. This is just my personal opinion is I think it's hard for people when you have to face fear or faith in life. And then they watch people with faith in anything, including building a building or building a community center, when that intangible is often so far removed from their world, for whatever reason. You know, I'll always say that the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that ever happened to you, and we need to take that seriously. You broke a hangnail. Well, if that's the worst thing that you broke your nail, that's the worst thing that ever happened to you. Well, okay, well, you're not in a cave in Afghanistan, but I get it. So I need to empathize and I need to understand where you're coming from. And I think that judgment, that projection of judgment, is often coming from a place that people will have no ability to know you and Brooke and Scott and Scott Hutchinson and all the people that had one thing in common, and that wasn't they weren't going to give up. And that intangible is so hard to quantify. Oh, it's impossible to quantify.
Yeah.
But that's what got you over the finish line.
We say all the time at Real Life, bravery isn't moving ahead without fear, right?
It can't
Bravery
happen.
is moving ahead even though you're scared to death.
Yeah, well, it's a prerequisite to courage. You can't have
Yeah.
courage without fear.
Yeah. You just can't, like, some things get so big though. Like, I learned marriage counseling. Marriage counseling. It was the best thing I ever did, and I hated it. Best thing we ever did. But I learned a little bit, like, when you move forward, there's fear in moving forward. There is unknowns, but there's a thing, like, it was so far out of my control, right? That I didn't really worry about it at all. Like, if I go home and my snowblower doesn't work, I'm like, man, I'm gonna worry about that all night, how I'm gonna fix it. But, like, hey, we need $10 million to finish phase 2. I'm like, well, that's so big. So the big things, it's really easy for me now in my life to say, God, that's you. I can't, in marriage counseling, like, I can't fix my wife. I went to marriage counseling hoping the counselor would say, yeah, she is messed up. And then
Prove your point.
It was me. It wasn't her, And so there's this point where like, things are so big and so beyond me and so beyond my control. But 15 years ago, most of my life, I thought, I'm responsible for all outcomes, right? If I don't fix it, it's gonna go bad, because times when I haven't been in control, it left me in pain, and so I'm gonna get control of this thing. Now, the big things in life, I don't have any, the big things that really don't have control over, I don't worry about those things. It's the little stuff.
Yeah. Well, we talk about it a lot, don't we, where we say it's ironic that your comfort zone is often where you're running from. And then when you face adversity, your instinctual mind will tell you to get back to the place you're coming from, that comfort zone where none of the magic lives. So all the magic, all the fulfillment and joy is outside of this instinctual mind that we have that's there just to protect us, So it's funny when you take on these big goals and you have this faith, but you've surrounded yourself with some really amazing people. And that's the thing about, if there's a human condition that we can look at history and just reflect on, is that when you combine even a small group of very persistent, very dedicated people, you can move the world.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's true. That's the 7 Acres Foundation that runs the community center. It's true at real life. I mean, I would not want to step out of my house any day, especially on a Sunday, if I didn't know Graham Monteleone was going to be, if he wasn't going to be there at real life, if Sarah Barnes wasn't going to be there, right? Lynette Parkhurst, and we got Ellen Van Epps. We got these people that I would never want to do what I do. In fact, I would be scared and overwhelmed. But they take up so much of the fear factor, right? That I'm not going into this battle all by myself. Having a team that goes with you, and then they all have volunteer teams, and we preach that all the time. Ministry is so much better and so much more enjoyable and so much more effective when you do it as a team.
Yeah, well, you pick each other up when you need it, and combining strengths to achieve a common goal. I say it all the time, where we're, as a collective, we're always smarter than as an individual, whether we think we are or aren't, we are. It's just the way of the world. And more importantly, the emotional drain when curveballs hit and the reactionary mind versus the strategic mind takes over. That's where the collective group of very strong people that all have a common mission, like you talk about, we can get us all back at various times to the mission. Once that happens, the leadership is naturally in place, because we together will win this fight one way or another, even if how we're going to win it is not possible to determine. And that is the scary part for most people, because you really put you guys, it sounds like you put yourself in a position where you got COVID, prices go ballistic. That's a massive, COVID was a massive disruptor, right? Like 2008 was a massive disruptor. 1928, the Great Depression was a massive disruptor. But you survived it. And that's the beautiful part about it. And so I think if somebody was listening to this and they wanted to know more about it, how would they go about it?
Easiest way is to jump online to just search Lake Chelan Community Center. The website is newly updated. The other way is on the website too is Maribel Cruz's. She's the director of the community center. She's fantastic. You can contact her.
Well, she'll be on the podcast next week.
There you go. She's fantastic. The other thing is, like I kept saying to people, and I think you discovered it a little bit, is no one's going to understand what we're talking about until it's done. Like, it's not if you build it, they're going to come. It's we had to build it for people to even understand what we were trying to do. Mm-hmm. And until you walk into that building, right, and see everything that's going on, no one understands until you walk in there. It's a fantastic place. So all the information you need is on the website. If you want to experience it, just come and walk around.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine, a partner of mine, meet with Scott Hutchinson after I talked to him, and I said, look, you should think about this, because he's pretty involved in our goals and our vision for helping essential worker housing in our development. And he was like, wow, that's pretty intense. And that, like, how many people blew him away that are so committed and have been committed for quite some time. This wasn't an overnight success.
Right.
And to me, it's just a fantastic story. And it's such a beautiful, amazing thing for the community. That's why I said earlier in this conversation I was embarrassed, because, I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and I'm kind of in the know. I mean, in most things.
Sure.
I thought, but there just goes I'm just arrogant. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when Scott Hutchison invited my wife and I, and got to hear Brooke talk and got to hear all the other people in the story.
And you heard.
It was amazing.
It's all. There's no bonds, there's no levy, there's no taxes, right? The city of Chelan, the county. Now, Olympia helped us out with some building healthy family. I forget that some of the, we got some cash from Olympia, but the majority of it, vast majority, came from individuals and from personal foundations.
Wow.
So no one's, like, so when you see that on Facebook, and I get it, and it doesn't make me mad, they just don't have all the information, right? Yeah. Like, there's our tax dollars.
Well, it's a telegraph game a lot of times, where I whisper in your ear and you whisper in there.
Yeah.
By the time you get,
and they're
three-headed dragons flying on unicorns or something.
Yeah,
it's like,
and people make assumptions based on what they've known in the past, regardless if it's truth or not. They're just making assumptions.
Especially small towns, right? And I love living in a small town. One of the biggest reasons, like when we came up and interviewed for the youth pastor job in '92 at North Shore, we were like 50-50. Even when we moved, we were like 51% go, 49% stay. It wasn't like a big vision came to us and God said go. So we were down, a couple things happened in LA to kind of push us a little bit, but one of them was, this is pathetic. I go to this bakery every single day on my way to, I go down Holt Boulevard to get on 60 freeway, sit on the 60 freeway for an hour and a half to go 25 miles to my office at church. But I'd always stop at this bakery, a little Korean bakery. I always get the same thing, this cherry-filled Danish, all right? Every single day. I pull up, and there's police tape. And I get out, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? The baker got shot last night. Like, all right, I guess I need to find a new bakery. There wasn't like, I didn't care about the guy, I didn't know the guy, and I drove away thinking, what is wrong? And I thought, I think I want to live in a place where I know the baker and the baker knows me, right? When you do that, Manson, Chelan, all the other stuff comes with it, right?
Yeah.
Because they do know you. They know you if you're speeding through town, right? They know if you were a jerk and coach and got 3 technicals and got kicked out of a game. Now it's 2 and out. I got 3 and got kicked out. And everyone knows everything about you.
And they'll make up the rest.
And I'd rather put up with that, to be seen and known and to see and know people. That's a small price to pay. That everyone knows your business. Okay, I'm glad that everyone knew my girl's business when they were in high school, right? And then shared that with me when I needed to know it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They didn't.
I bet so. Yeah. And so you have 2 daughters?
Yes.
And what are they doing right now?
My oldest one is a therapist in Boise, and the youngest one is married to a dentist in Phoenix. She runs her own marketing company.
Wow.
And they are on their way. They're moving first of the year to Boise. He got this great dental job. We're super excited.
That's cool.
Because Boise's pretty easy to get to. And to have both girls in the same place. And believe it or not, they like hanging out with us and we like hanging out with them.
So you did a pretty good job.
Well, it's their mother. You need to meet their mom.
Yeah.
She
did the
gold.
best job.
She's gold. Yeah.
One of the things I'm asking people a lot, I'm just always trying to get perspective on this, the word local. How do you respond to people that don't like the change of growth? And what's your advice for them?
Yeah, that is tough. That is tough. There's people in Manson still that think I'm new, right? I've lived there 32 years.
Yeah.
And if we have generations, I only go about one to my dad, and it wasn't even that long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. I mean, your family's been here forever, I think, and so it's tough. Here's what the hypocrisy in it, though.
Yeah.
All right, is a few years ago I was driving. I say to my wife, "Man, if I see one more orchard getting pulled out for a subdivision, right? You realtors are killing us." I'm like that, And then she says, "Well, didn't they pull out an orchard for us to build in our subdivision in Somerset?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's different, right?" Like you get your piece of the pie,
Yeah.
and then you don't want anyone else to have a piece of the pie.
Not in my backyard.
But I get it. That our people feel that there's too many people, that you can't go out to eat in Chelan during the summer if you don't have a reservation, and not everyone takes reservations, and we're going to stand in line, or when I leave the community center and I have to wait at the stop sign because there's traffic coming. I mean, it's all stuff that's stupid.
Yeah.
That go to LA and they would laugh you out of the county, right?
Yeah.
But I get it. We want small town to be small town. We'd like there not to be as many tourists, all that stuff. But me personally, I just like people, and I love this place, right? And it's the same thing everywhere. That's a beautiful place to live.
Yeah.
You go to McCall, Idaho.
I love McCall.
That place is huge compared to when I was playing basketball in high school against McCall, Donnelly Vandals, home of the Vandals. Yeah, it's a radically different place. But we were just up there a month ago and it's a gorgeous place. Well, people want to live in gorgeous places.
I fly out of Cascade when I go into the backcountry.
There you go.
That's right, and McCall both. But yeah, that's a beautiful place. And it's interesting too, because once people I just believe once people find some commonality among their neighbors, and instead of it's not this adversarial relationship or mutually exclusive, we're not that much different from each other. And growth is, unfortunately, because I had a perfect childhood. My parents I was blessed. Everything about it was perfect. It was Mayberry, and it was all the things. So I wish I could snap my fingers and go back to the late 80s. That was a beautiful, beautiful place in my teenage years. But the reality is it's inevitable. So if something is inevitable, now the conversation hopefully will start to lean towards how can we do things in a way that are beneficial as much as possible for everyone.
Right, and that's out of my pay grade, right?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, they have to figure that out. My thing is
tough.
Relationships and how we treat each other and how we interact with each other. My best friend since high school, his name is, we call him Huey. He lives in Boise. I hope he's listening. He's the most intolerant person in the entire world. I tell him all the time. He only sees life like this. Been very successful, but he's just very, very, very conservative, intolerant conservative. And I love him to death. We've been best friends since 7th grade. He sees all this movement into Boise, right?
Yeah.
He's going to retire in a year and a half, but before retirement, he sold his house in Nampa, moved up to Garden Valley, right, on the way to Cascade. So he's out of town. And he thinks now he's escaped it, but they're coming to Garden Valley too, and what Idaho has found is, and I love this, is you had all these King County, Arizonan, California conservatives moving to Idaho because it's a conservative state, right?
Right.
Well, California conservative is not Huey conservative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The definition might be a little different.
So you still got to learn.
Yeah.
You know, you still got to learn how to get even beyond faith, right?
Yeah.
It's the call of Christ for sure. We're compelled to love no matter what. No matter what you believe, no matter how you act, no matter where you've been, that for sure it's the call of Jesus. But even beyond that, if you're not a faith person, it's just what makes a community great, right? When we're concerned about the least, the last, and the lost in our community, when we invest in people who can't invest in themselves, it raises everybody up. I believe that with all my heart. When we don't agree and we are still friends and hang out, you know, that makes a community better.
Right.
Me getting my way all the time, me and then voicing that on Instagram or Facebook or you know, or the dirty ones, the Snapchat or the TikTok that Nicole's probably on.
Nicole.
That's the
I'm
worst.
The problem.
People are going to come, whether it was a beautiful place or not, people are going to move in. And do we either accept them and try to get to know their story, which I love that you say that, or we're just going to isolate ourselves. We'll put up we're going to put up a gate around our community, okay? But the horrible thing is when you gate your own soul or your own family or your own morals or your own existence, right? That's not a gate. That's not protection. That's prison, right? That if I keep myself from everybody else that doesn't think and act and believe the way I do, I've imprisoned myself. And when you open up, you're going to learn a lot. And the fear, and it was my grandparents, it was my parents, that if you expose yourself to people who think and believe and act differently than you, you're going to be tainted. Well, if you're going to be tainted, then you didn't really believe anything in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? So my mission, in real life's mission, is to make sure that we are in relationship, accepting and loving people, no matter what lifestyle, belief, where they've come from, no strings attached.
And you know, you're right. Us realtors, especially the ones like me that have been here doing it for 36 years, my entire adult life, basically. I've met a lot of people, and I've brought a lot of people here. If there's good news, it's enriched my life. The diversity is amazing. The intellectual diversity is amazing. The people vast majority of people are amazing people. And they want to do good, and they want to embrace and be embraced. And so to me, that's why I'm always saying, like, if somebody asks me what it takes to be a local, I mean, well, do you live here? Are you a good person? Do you care about people? In my mind, you're a local. I mean, the fact that my grandma came a long time ago in a covered wagon, or I've been here for 5 generations or whatever, that's respect. I mean, I love the founding families that were pioneers in this area and built this area and planted the first Johnny Appleseed and did all the things. It's amazing stories. And yet, you know, I think if we just get to know each other a little better, the best way we can, and a little less judgment and a little more love, good things. Good things.
I have a question. Who planned the roads in Manson back in the day? Because it seemed like the founding fathers got together, they all got drunk, and they took a crayon, and then they just went like this. Could you drive everywhere out there, right? You're going to end up somewhere, but nothing makes sense.
No.
When I first moved here, I got lost. I thought Dry Lake was Rose's Lake. I couldn't tell, you know. Back in the day, I thought, who planned this place?
I'll tell you a funny story about that map in your head. You know, there's 2 parts to this. One, I got a client from Seattle that came over here, and I had told him I was, you know, lived here and knew everybody, 2nd generation, blah, blah, 3rd generation, whatever it was. And then after a while, they're like, "You're a liar." And I'm like, "What?" Because you didn't grow up here. You're just trying to sell us a house. You're just lying to us. You don't know any street names. And they just could not understand that I don't know any street names if I grew up there.
Yeah.
And the second funny story about the maze of Manson roads, when we were young and, you know, cruising, you know, in the 16, 17, 18, you know, us local guys would have a kind of hangout at the Lakeview Drive-In, where all the cute girls would kind of show up. And back then, cruising was kind of a deal, right?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
So after the Lakeview Drive-In closed, that parking lot kind of turned into a gathering place of locals and tourists and all those kids. And so the guys got together. I don't know if my friends remember this, but we had this plan that we used. I remember more than once. And we'd only tell the guys, there's a get-together party, whatever, in Manson, and follow the blue car. And we kind of draw straws to see who would be the blue car guy. And then we wouldn't tell any of the girls. And then all the guys at 10 o'clock were heading out to Manson. So follow this caravan out to this, wherever. And then we get them out deep into Manson and then lose them. And then come back and all there'd be was just the girls. And now the problem was they worked their way back. And then we had a little conversation with the boys that didn't appreciate what we did to them. But,
Sure.
Yeah, you weren't smart enough to know to leave the location with the girls to another spot, but that's okay.
We'd still be there chatting, and they'd show up, you jerks, So you can use the maze to your advantage. But, the one thing I found interesting about the ag industry and how it was all about work. It wasn't about, I own a waterfront orchard. It was about work. And that the Goat Mountain and the flume where the water came from the irrigation was all from the high country, right? The snow melt and snowpack. So if you had money, you had more stability if you bought orchard away from the lake, closer to the mountains where you had ditch irrigation. So it wasn't until they invented the submersible pump that they realized, wait a minute, I can have lakefront and a business? So it inverted. The poor people were on the lake. So it was kind of an interesting, because nobody really thought about,
your view and
tourism.
and access to the lake was the most
but even in the 70s, that was
beneficial.
I remember when one of our friends was the first guy to build in Lake Chelan Hills. Very first home up there was an A-frame. And people made fun of him that why would he build up in the sagebrush? No one's going to build up. Right? Anybody building outside of town was like, well.
Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah.
It's funny now. It is changing. It's always going to change. And, it's been fun to be a part of it.
For the record, I love living here, right? I love Manson. I love Chelan. I had one daughter graduate from Manson, one daughter graduate from Chelan. I love it. It ain't perfect, neither am I, right? I love we'll travel, we'll go to places, and we'll come back and you're like, oh, we got to go back off of our vacation. Coming back here is easy. I love living here. Yeah. It's gorgeous,
I'd love to get your take on this too. And I believe when we look at historical accomplishments or change, and when you study history, I think we often look at the history through rose-colored glasses, that it was always smooth and easy. But in reality, I personally believe all change has been messy. All things through history are very messy. Some things are super messy, like world wars, and it's never been easy. It just, when you get through it and you look back on it, it's like, oh yeah. But when you're in the middle of it, we act like this is some new phenomenon that we're facing. But in reality, change has always been.
Russ, you're talking like an old person, man. Yeah, that's what old people say. I'm the same way.
I am an
my
old
dad
person.
was on the Chelan City Council in the 70s, where they decided to move the golf course, which was where the RV park is. They moved it up on the hill, and people were so mad at them. Well, look how great the golf course is, and look how great that RV park is,
Well, look where we're at right here in the Sunset Marina. I thought you want to talk about getting some people talking. And now this thing it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it serves a purpose.
And it's free. I don't like change. I like doing the same thing. I would go to the same place on vacation, I would do the same thing if I could. My daughters keep telling me there's a lot of other places to go in the world.
There's only one Cherry Danish. That's it.
Well.
Only one really good one.
I'm afraid to even go back to that place, that area. Yeah. So, I don't like change either, but most, like, should the bridge be one way or two lanes?
It's messy.
And I'm like, it's not that I don't care, because that's not fair to people who do care. But it's like, I think it'll work out. Whatever. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, well, debate should be spicy. That's the name of the game, and then just respect to agree to disagree. Sometimes you have to do that too, put your guns down. It's okay. You said your piece. We all did it. We voted. That's America. I mean, sometimes you have to, and it's not always in your favor, but it does always tend to work out. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking, my friend, for an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And sure appreciate everything you're doing and have done for that in your life and the people you've helped.
And thank you for being authentic and honest and vulnerable, because I know you said to a fault you are, but I just appreciate it. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for including me. I appreciate it. I'm honored to have been part of it.
All right. Well, we're signing off. Good luck
All
with
right.
the rest of the community center.
Yeah.
I know you're going to
We're-
get there.
Big, we are going to get
We're all
this.
going to love it.
We're all gonna
I
get
can't believe it. It's awesome. Well, signing off from Small Towns Unscripted. Thanks, Kyle.